What's up, guys? So today we are going to talk about why the government shutdown is a good thing and the reason why Trump deciding not to sign the bill into law is a right way of using his power as president of the United States. So let's get into it.
Father playing the back, man, will drop because he's taking the facts to find the word of God. Listen, backtrack, read it first.
So Donald Trump made some promises when he ran for president. One of the pillars of his campaign was that he was going to build a wall to protect the borders. This is based on his nationalistic worldview. Nationalism is not a bad thing. Nationalism is a good thing. It's actually rooted in deep Judeo-Christian principles. And it really flourished during the Reformation era when the Protestants really, because, of Henry VIII and Martin Luther really pulling in and focusing on their national sovereignty versus Rome. So, yeah, there's good and bad in nationalism, but the good thing is it really pushed forward the concept of sovereignty of an individual nation state, which goes back to Aristotle's, Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, view of the nation state, having borders, defending borders, so forth. So why is the government shutdown a good thing? It brings back into focus the checks and balances of our federal government, which has three branches, and it isn't the Senate and Congress, Miss Cortez. The three branches are the judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch. The Supreme Court, the President of the United States, and Congress, which includes both chambers of Congress. So, when Congress starts spending money on frivolous things, or when Congress decides not to include some funding that the president wants for his agenda, he is the executive officer of the United States. He can choose to veto that bill. And right now is a perfect opportunity to use that power. So because Congress does not have the votes to overturn a presidential veto, this is when the president can actually influence legislation. And right now, because he made a promise, and the reason why he was elected was to put up a wall, which was one of the reasons, one of the major pillars of his campaign, Congress knows, especially the Democrats who are coming in this next year, know that they can't overturn a veto. So Trump has the perfect position, the perfect leverage to force Congress to include funding for the wall. And what happens if they don't include funding to the wall? Exactly what is happening now. The government is shut down. And good for President Trump for shutting down the government, because Congress, or at least the Democrats, don't want to put through funding for border security, which is the foundation of the sovereignty of any nation. So, why is it a good thing? Because it keeps the government in check. The House has checks against the executive and the judicial branch. The executive branch has checks against the legislative and judicial, and the judicial branch has a power which it should never have had, judicial review, which is basically a check against both the executive and the legislative branch. And we can get into judicial review later. Marbury v. Madison. That's a very interesting ruling. So, it's good because it checks and makes sure no branch of government has too much power, that the legislative branch just can't ram through whatever they want. They need to have the president in line. Otherwise, just like I believe the longest government shutdown was with Jimmy Carter, or it was the second longest shutdown. I think it was like 16 or 17 days or something like that. And because Jimmy Carter didn't sign a spending bill, and he had both Democrats in control of the Senate and the House, he thought there was wasteful spending, Jimmy Carter, in the appropriations bill that Congress put forth. And he didn't sign it, and the government shut down for 16 days. So it isn't just Republicans that are shutting down the government. And, Obama, they shut down the government because the House didn't want to fund Obamacare. The Republicans with Bill Clinton didn't want to fund, the Bill Clinton didn't want to fund certain aspects of the appropriations bill and the budget back in '94. So, people were thinking, oh no, the Republicans, they just want to shut down the government. No, the Democrats shut down the government. Jimmy Carter did it. Because the Democrats in both chambers were spending like crazy. So, kudos to President Trump for executing his check against Congress by threatening to not sign, which is kind of like a passive veto, or even just straight up veto the bill. So, next talk, I'm going to get into the best form of government and what is the ideal government for man. And that's going to be an interesting talk. I'll give you a hint. It's not democracy. So, if you like this video, please share it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, The Driving Catholic, for both of them. You can also find me on Twitter, just Driving Catholic. And please, please, please subscribe. I got 20 subscribers as of this morning on my YouTube channel. Trying to get to 100. I want to have The Driving Catholic at the end of my YouTube. So it'll be youtube.com/The Driving Catholic. Right now, it's like a bunch of letters and numbers. So please subscribe. Please share. And keep the faith. Let's get to it. God love you. Bye.
We are the bearers of the truth, protecting it. So not a single heretic can step to this. O-R-T-H-O-D-O-X it is. We hold down the whole truth with excellence.